Hey everybody, welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo-O. It is March 30th today, 2023. One of the best ski winters the west side of the United States in a long time. And I am pretty stoked about that. That's for sure. Yeah, I know everybody's ready for it to heat up, but I don't know if Bo's ready for it to heat up. I kind of like it today. It's getting a little cooler. Ooh, that's nice. And it snowed up in Flagstaff. Yeehaw! Anyway, my name's Bo Willette. You could always check out the archives at Bo Willette. These are my Devo times that I get to share with you, the people in the body of Christ here, and those that are listening elsewhere. Hey, I'm one of those Generation X kids that, hey, secular, progressive atheist, grow up SoCal kid, experience all that SoCal life. And lo and behold, started reading the Bible, in my very late teens. And man, what do you know? It made way more sense than what I heard people talking about it all the time. You go from hating Christianity and hating Christians, and all of a sudden you're reading the Bible going, man, dude, this makes way more sense than my professor. That's for sure. And man, it's just unreal. Anyway, so I get to kind of pour through the Bible with you guys too. And I love just going page by page, book by book. It's kind of fun. And it's not just kind of fun. It really is fun. And we get to get into these cool narratives, man. They're so fascinating, aren't they? Just unreal, the narratives. And what we find is they're a lot like today. And that's what I mean. Like when I read the Bible and it made sense, is that it was a lot like today. When I read the Bible, it made sense to my world around me. It made me think, man, we really haven't changed much as human beings, that's for sure. And it really made me understand why there's a distance between God, the deity, and us human beings. Why isn't God just here? And this is really the whole story of the Bible. God promises a deliverer to remedy the situation, because it seems pretty unfixable, that's for sure, this issue between God and who God is in essence, and who we are, and what we've become, what we have chosen. And we are a stubborn group, that's for sure. And so we're at this narrative now in the book of Kings where we see that God has honed in on a tribal family, the tribe of Judah. We know that the promised Messiah, this anointed one that's going to come from the seed of a woman, right? This whole thing of a woman through her, and this child will be amazing and going to actually rectify the situation between us and this distance between us and God. And but there's 12 tribes of Israel, and they all have a role to play in the community and in evangelism to the world. But they've failed miserably, we've seen, just filled with idolatry. The kingdom is split up. The two kings from the north and the south just got killed, assassinated by Jehu. Jehu was raised up, a military guy, super hardcore military guy, we're going to see. And Jehu takes the king of the north and the king of the south out. And it's a judgment from God on the family line of Ahab, a really bad king, right? A really wicked king that there was a prophetic word that was given through these prophets that are given to the nation to help steer them in the right way, that all of Ahab's family would be toast. So Ahab's family's gonna go, and they're gonna be judged. And they've been given over to idolatry in the sense that they've just let themselves do it. They go that direction. They ain't going back. They don't care. That kind of idea. It's really bad scene. The whole nation is just given over to idolatry. And it's rough stuff, man. This isn't like mellow idolatry. This is some pretty serious things going on that would, make us even kind of go, whoa. And we live in a world that's very similar, a world that, has had remnants of knowing God, but then we turn away as people so quickly from the true and living God, and we turn to idols and money and, mammon, worshiping mammon, the god of money. We worship different things, people. We trust in institutions. We trust in science, whatever that is. Right? We know how good that is, by the way, nowadays. And so it says Ahab had 70 sons living in the city of Samaria. So we're going to hone in on this judgment again on Ahab's family. And it was sons. I don't know if they were all literal sons. It could just mean like descendants, we saw in the Old Testament, which we're in, that a guy named Gideon had 70 sons. So Jehu wrote letters and sent them to Samaria to the elders and to King Ahab's sons. And he said, the king's sons are with you, and you have at your disposal chariots, horses, a fortified city, and weapons. As soon as you receive this letter, select the best qualified of your master's sons to be your king, and prepare to fight for Ahab's dynasty. But they were paralyzed with fear and said, we've seen that two kings couldn't stand against this man. What can we do? So the palace and city administrators, together with the elders and the guardians of the king's sons, sent this message to Jehu. We are your servants and will do anything you tell us. We will not make anyone king. Do whatever you think is best. So Jehu's going to take care of the idea of someone becoming king. See, Jehu was anointed king, remember, by the prophets. Elisha and all that. Yeah, there's this situation going on between the government and the prophets. The prophets are telling the government, hey, you guys are messing up. Well, the government doesn't want to listen. They just want to keep doing what they're doing, right? Well, now this coup takes place where Jehu is anointed as king by the prophets and says, you know what? They're not going to get out of office. They're going to stay in there and wreck the whole show forever. So we're going to anoint someone else king. And Jehu, as a military guy, has the military behind him, and man, goes and does what needs to be done to rid Israel of these wicked kings and their dynasty. These 70 sons have administrators to them. They're trying to protect him, obviously. Hopefully one day one of them would become king. And that's kind of the idea. So they send that letter to Jehu saying, hey, you know what? We are your servants. We'll do anything you ask. We won't make anybody king, right? And do whatever you think is best. And Jehu responded with the second letter, if you are on my side and you are going to obey me, bring the heads of your master's sons to me at Jezreel by this time tomorrow. Wow. Now the 70 sons of the king were being cared for by the leaders of Samaria, where they had been raised since childhood. When the letter arrived, the leaders killed all 70 of the king's sons. They placed their heads in baskets and presented them to Jehu at Jezreel. Really, really ironic. Ahab, the wicked king whose dynasty was said that's going to be taken out because of his wickedness and doing and leading the people into massive idolatry, setting up instead of worshiping down at Jerusalem in the temple that Solomon built, man, instead of worshiping, the whole Moses thing, the whole, Ark of the Covenant and all that jazz, Ahab said nah to that. He just went totally rogue, totally went nuts, man. Just threw some undergrounds, threw some clubs, had some raves, and just set up these sanctuary spots where you could just do idolatry, just idol worship. You didn't have to go to Jerusalem. You didn't have to go to the temple. Man, we got our own gods. We'll do our own thing. And so judgment's going to happen. And it's weird that Ahab, you see some of the highlights of his madness when his wife wanted a piece of land that was by their house, by the palace, the king's palace. And what do? Instead of just saying, hey, that's that dude's land, they kill this man, they take his stuff, and they glean from this man's crops, and they put all the wonderful grapes and stuff in baskets. And here you see now baskets of Ahab's family's heads being taken to Jehu. So that's the ironic thing, right? Ooh, at one point, everything seems great in our life. Boy, we're jamming. Man, we're doing awesome. Everything's great. And the next minute, man, the irony of it all, right? We see that, man, that really wasn't that good. Sometimes we look, as we get older, we realize, gosh, I didn't really, man, that really was the wrong move. That was really my flesh. That was really just my animal instincts getting the best of me, my lustful inclinations, my greedful envy, whatever it is, it was my fear getting the best of me, my insecurities getting the best of me. Oh boy, and sometimes they can come back to get us, right? And we see that. We all need saving. Amen? Amen. And a messenger went to Jehu and said, they have brought the heads of the king's sons. So Jehu ordered, pile them in 2 heaps at the entrance of the city gate and leave them there until morning. In the morning he went out and spoke to the crowd that had gathered around them. You are not to blame, he told them. I am the one who conspired against my master and killed them. But who killed all these? you can be sure that the message of the Lord that was spoken concerning Ahab's family will not fail. The Lord declared through his servant Elijah that this would happen. So Jehu's just kind of saying, hey, this is what the prophet said was going to happen. And sure enough, here we go. It happened. Then Jehu killed all who were left in Ahab's relatives living in Jezreel, and all his important officials, his personal friends, his priest. So Ahab was left without a single survivor. It's interesting. There's the government. There's the power structure. And then there's these groups of people that go, man, you know what? The power structure is not doing that well. They're really messing up. They're not adhering to the foundation of the nation, you know? And so there's this rising up of people that really want to change things. But they can't. The power structure is too strong, right? And, you know, so then it takes time and effort. And obviously Jehu was that guy who had a military behind him, right? I mean, he was a military guy. He must have had crew and friends and people in there. He was pretty well liked in there. And as this coup happens, and this takeover of the government by Jehu, who was anointed by the prophet to be the next king, what happens is Jehu not only takes out Ahab's family, but the interesting thing is this group that's trying to take over ends up taking over, right? The Jehus of the world end up taking over. And guess what they do? You think they do right, right? We always think they're going to do right, but they end up just going nuts. And it's kind of weird. It's like, it would be great to think that we can somehow get it right, you know, as human beings. Like somehow we can get this government thing right, ruling over people right, you know. But the Bible in this chapter indicates that Jehu comes in, he takes out Ahab's relatives, and then he also takes out his important officials, and he also his personal friends, and then he takes out his priest. So Ahab was left without a single survivor. Anybody who knew Ahab was going to get taken out. I mean, Jehu just went bananas. He just goes like, hey, you know what? I am taken out. Elijah prophesied that Ahab's family was going to be taken out. I'm taking out his friends. I'm taking out his priest. I'm taking out whoever knows Ahab is going, right? And you know, it just shows that Jehu needs salvation too, right? Oh boy, does he need saving? You know, gosh, it's like, and that's the crazy thing about us human beings is that, you know, we think we got it together. We finally think that we're in the right. We think that, oh, now that we're in power, we're going to do the right thing. Man, we mess up too. Boy, it makes me, you know, just to have to settle my heart this morning and go, you know what? All I can do is rely on the stability of God. That's where my peace lies, is in the stability of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. He is the stable one. If my stability is on other things in this world, other people in this world, they might do good for a time. Your husband, your wife, your kids, your cousins, your uncles, the, you know, school, the whatever, you know, it might do good for a time, but it ain't going to last. It just ain't. Because there's something wrong with us. We're far worse off than most of us realize. And this is what the Bible keeps, these narratives just keep pushing this point home over and over. This is why they're there. God's telling you and me that you need the kid. You need the kid that's going to be born of a woman. You need salvation. You need help in the most radical way. Tina says we will fail without God. Absolutely, we will fail without God. How can we not? Who are we going to trust? Where are we going to go? I mean, who can I really rely on? The weather? Nope. That ain't going to help. Everything's unpredictable. Global warming's global cooling. Global cooling was big when I was young. That's what the thing was that going to destroy the world, by the way, was global cooling when I was younger. And now it's global heating. But now it's no longer global heating because now it's really cold. So now it's, climate change. Climate change from when? We have no clue. We've only been measuring so long. It's crazy, right? We are a wreck. And Jehu is too, man. He's not too good either. He's all over the place. Then Jehu set out for Samaria along the way while he was at Beth Eked of the shepherds. He's with the shepherds now, hanging out with some shepherds. Isn't that cool? And he met some relatives of King Ahaziah of Judah. Who are you? He asked them. And they replied, we are relatives of King Ahaziah. We are going to visit the sons of King Ahab and the sons of the queen mother. Interesting. What's going to be the reply? Take them alive, Jehu shouted to his men, and they captured all 42 of them and killed them at the well of Beth Eked. None of them escaped. Wow! You just say, hey, I'm going to go hang out with Ahab's sons, see the queen mother, go hang out, do a little idol worship. Boom, done. That's it. Execute it. I mean, it is on the spot, man. They are cleansing the land of idolatry. Wow, this is so late, right? This was something that was kind of supposed to be back in the year, but wow, it is really festered, this idolatry. And Jehu's out on a, if you will, a kind of a quest to cleanse the land of this kind of idolatrous practices. And so Jehu left there, and he met Jehonadab, son of Rechab, who was coming to meet him. And after they greeted each other, Jehu said to him, are you loyal to me as I am to you? So they give a cool handshake, a little fist pump, hey, are you loyal to me, man? I'm loyal to you. And what is the reply? Yes, I am, Jehonadab replied. If you are, Jehu said, then give me your hand. So Jehonadab put out his hand, and Jehu helped him into the chariot. Then Jehu said, come now with me and see how devoted I am to the Lord. So Jehonadab rode along with them. Jehu says, hey, you want to see how radical I am for the Lord? Man, here we go, right? We're going to go take care of these issues in Israel, right? These problems that have been happening over and over and over. We got to get back to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, worshiping Yahweh. Remember Jerusalem, Ark of the Covenant, temple, that kind of thing. Cleansing, offering means to draw near. Remember that whole thing, right? You get the idea that Jehu's really zealous. And when Jehu arrived in Samaria, and by the way, how's your zeal today? How's my zeal? In a spiritual way, how's my zeal? How's my passion, for God? Am I in the chariot saying, hey, let's go do it. Let's go serve the Lord, kind of idea. Am I excited about serving the Lord? Do I have a zeal? I want a zeal today, actually. I think it's good to be zealous. I want knowledge too. I don't want to be just blind zeal, but having some zeal is very good. Then Jehu arrived in Samaria, and he killed everyone who was left there from Ahab's family, just as the Lord had promised through Elijah. So Samaria was the hometown of Ahab. Ahab had a lot of family there, and obviously they're all getting dealt with. A massive judgment. Elijah, back in the, years and years and years ago, man, told Ahab, yo, you're going to be judged. Wouldn't it have been great if Ahab just would have went, you know what? Man, I need to repent. I need to change my thoughts. I need to change my attitudes. Instead of just doing what us humans do, we get stubborn and we just kind of go, nope. No way. The deity's not right. No way. I don't want no accountability with God. I'm going to just do my thing. I'm going to go do my thing, hang out with my crew, do my stuff, right? That kind of idea. And I certainly have done that. And a part of me still does that. Meaning a part of me still has that fleshly nature, still wants to go its way, want to run away from God. And I have to keep bringing it back into subjection, right? And bring it back. Come on, let's get back to church. Let's get back in the Word. Let's get back. Those kind of things. So Jehu called a meeting of all the people of the city of Samaria. This is the capital of the northern part of Israel. Huge, big place, right? A lot of people. Calls the city meeting, town meeting. Ahab's worship of Baal was nothing compared to the way I will worship him. Therefore, summon all the prophets and worshippers of Baal and call together all the priests. See to it that every one of them comes, for I am going to offer a great sacrifice to Baal. Wow. Jehu really has an interesting promotion tool, right? We're going to worship Baal. Everybody come together. We're going to worship Baal, the false god, right? The god that is now taken over from Yahweh. Instead of Yahweh worship, all these northern tribes are worshiping Baal. Jehu, in his zeal for Yahweh, has this really interesting idea. Hey, we're going to throw a giant club, and it's going to be a worship club, and we're going to worship Baal. Come on out, join. 5 o'clock, 5 to 10. So Jehu ordered, prepare a solemn assembly to worship Baal. So they did. He sent messengers throughout all Israel, summoning those who worship Baal. They all came, not a single one remained behind, and they filled the temple of Baal from one end to the other. And Jehu instructed the keeper of the wardrobe, be sure every worshiper of Baal wears one of these robes. So the robes were given to them, kind of to mark them out, right? And then it says, then Jehu went to the temple of Baal with Jehonadab, son of Rechab. Jehu said to the worshippers of Baal, make sure no one who worships the Lord is here. Only those who worship Baal. All Yahweh worshippers to the right, all Baal worshippers to the left, right? That's how it's going. So they were all inside the temple to offer sacrifices and burnt offerings. So Jehu had stationed 80 of his men outside the building, and he warned them. See, Jehu had a crew with him. He had definitely a big posse with him, right? Military guy, Jehu, military man. If you let anyone escape, you will pay with it with your own life. Wow. No one's getting out of there alive, right? As soon as Jehu had finished sacrificing the burnt offerings, he commanded his guards and officers, go and kill all of them. Don't let a single one escape. So they killed them all with the swords, and the guards and the officers dragged their bodies outside. Then Jehu's men went into the innermost fortress of the temple of Baal. They dragged out the sacred pillar, used the worship of Baal and burned it. They smashed the sacred pillar and wrecked the temple of Baal, converting it into a public toilet, and it remains to this day. Whoa, dude, Jehu is hardcore. I mean, there's a passage later on in the book of Hosea that you might want to read that talks about Jehu, if I remember. And you'll find that interesting. You might want to look it up. In the book of Hosea in the Bible, look up where Jehu's at. So sometimes you can just go online and go look up Jehu, wherever he's at in the Bible, and where his name's at, and see what it says about him. But he was quite a violent dude. I mean, talk about a blood spiller, man. This guy was a military dude to the core, right? Infantry, hardcore. And I tell you, making the Baal place into a public toilet, and you know what? This is interesting. Our idols at one point seemed so important. Our idols at one point seemed so amazing. Skiing's great, but skiing can be an idol. It can be, and is it really that cool? No. Right? It's not that cool. I mean, I enjoy it. It's fun. I find a lot of fun things about the sport, but it's not that cool. It's not certainly to build your life off of. It's not worth it. It's not valuable enough. Only God is of uttermost value to be worshipped, to be bowed to give your life to serve in a holistic way, but not to something like, not to false idols. False idols become toilets. That's weird, but that's what it says, right? Jehu makes it the place into a bathroom, right? It's nothing. It becomes nothing. And you know what? We are going to die. Our bodies are going to die. We're going to breathe our last breath. And that's it. Right? Whatever things we got, whatever things we're into, whatever things that were cool, that we did, that we enjoyed, whatever those things, that ain't going to matter at that point. What's going to matter is God. True and living God, not some fairy tale. I don't want to base it on a fairy tale. The true and living God. I want to know that there's evidence for the true and living God. And so, man, I don't want to serve things that are just going to become like a toilet, of value, that kind of value. In this way, Jehu destroyed every trace of Baal worship from Israel. He did not, however, destroy the gold calves at Bethel and Dan, in which Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had caused Israel to sin. Interesting. So we see like a lot of the, if you will, restores of the correct worship in Israel. They only go so far. Nothing seems to get all the way restored. Now, this isn't going to happen. It's not going to be fully restored until Jesus comes back again. Wow. Right? We're still waiting for that. And then there's a total restoration of Israel. Interesting, right? Yeah. We're still waiting for this to happen. Because what's happened is partial revivals, right? Partial awakenings, right? But there's still a lot of, worship of other gods going on, right? All over the place. So nonetheless, the Lord said to Jehu, "You have done well in following my instructions to destroy the family of Ahab. Therefore, your descendants will be kings of Israel down to the 4th generation." But Jehu did not obey the law of the Lord, the God of Israel, with all his heart. He refused to turn from the sins that Jeroboam had led Israel to commit. So Jehu wasn't a perfect man. He definitely fell in many ways. He definitely struggled in many ways. And you do too, probably. And I imagine. But isn't that like a lot of our lives? Hey, you're doing great. You got a lot of good things going on over there. But there's that thing, Just think if we were examined by Jesus today. Jesus just sat down with us right now. And he just said, okay, we're going to do a little examination to see if you're like me. Let's see how much you're like me. What would that examination be like? It'd be like, okay, this is okay maybe, but this isn't so good. It'd be pretty radical, wouldn't it? Oh man, so true. Gosh, we certainly need saving. We certainly need grace. And we know that that's found in Jesus Christ. And we are grateful that Jesus Christ will come one day and will rectify everything. He will fix everything. He will be the hope of Israel. And really, he's the hope of the world, really, to reconcile us to the Father, to bring us back to the rightful place of worship. And this is what Jesus has come to do. And this is why Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through him. It's through him that the rightful kind of worship is restored. It's through the offering that was made, the sacrifice. Remember, sacrifice means to make holy. Offering means to draw near. So, boy, we have a lot to be thankful for today. Very radical. God has definitely got the attention of Israel in some radical ways. But it's still not totally complete. Where's it going to go from here? Well, we'll see, right? We'll see next time, tomorrow, Lord willing. You guys have a great day, okay? Bye-bye.